I was reborn and found myself back in my sophomore year of college. My green tea-scented roommate, Shirley, came up to me and said that she was pregnant with my boyfriend Damon's child. This time, I didn't cry or make a fuss. Instead, I smiled and blessed them. The scumbag and the bad girl were locked together forever. He had studied recipes every day, even boasting that to win a woman's heart, you first have to win her stomach. In my previous life, I was tortured to death by Damon. I had congenital heart disease, but he deliberately got me pregnant twice. The first time, when I was 3 months pregnant, he mixed abortion pills into my food, which led to my miscarriage. On our way to the hospital, both of my parents died in a car accident. As my son-in-law, Damon naturally took over all the family businesses. In front of others, he wore mourning clothes for my parents, cried bitterly, and behaved like a dutiful son. After my parents passed away, he locked me up at home and began to beat and torture me. He pushed my head into the toilet and whipped me with a belt. With a hideous face, he said to me, "Gia, those bastards are finally dead. Tell me, how should I let you die?" I managed to escape twice and called the police. However, he showed the police a forged psychiatric appraisal report, claiming that I had a serious mental illness. He hugged me and cried bitterly at the police station, pretending to be deeply affectionate towards me. But as soon as we got home, he grabbed my hair and punched and kicked me. The second time I got pregnant was also due to his malice. When I was 5 months pregnant, he poured boiling hot water and abortion pills into my mouth together. My throat was scalded, and I couldn't say a word. Blood was flowing continuously from below me. I lay on the floor, trying to call for help, but he grabbed my hair and forced me to raise my head. "Gia, if it weren't for you, I surely wouldn't have died. If it weren't for you, how could I have become the living son-in-law of your Gia family and be ridiculed and looked down upon by others? Someone like you doesn't deserve to give birth to a child of my Damon family. Gia, you don't deserve me at all. All the pain you're suffering now is just to atone for the sins of your Gia family." Tears mixed with blood slowly slid down my face. The sin of my Gia family was that we supported him after Damon's father went bankrupt because of being scammed. My stomach hurt so much, and my heart also felt extremely uncomfortable. Every beat seemed to drain all my strength. I opened my mouth wide, trying hard to breathe, but I couldn't take in that breath anymore. My consciousness gradually became blurred, and all that was left was Damon's terrifying and hideous face. If there was an afterlife. I heard someone say beside my ear. She sounded very proud, flaunting and even showing off a bit. "I'm pregnant with your boyfriend Damon's child." My roommate Shirley bent down and whispered softly in my ear. The scene in front of me was a bit familiar. In the slightly cramped dormitory, there were the smells of perfume, soap, powder, and also a stale, musty odor. "Stop pretending to be an innocent little flower. If you're sick, don't come to Shirley," her voice came to my ear again. I pinched my thigh hard and confirmed again and again that I was back, reborn and returned to my sophomore year in college. Shirley was like a rooster that had won a battle. She came to tell me very proudly that she was pregnant and carrying Damon's child in her belly. In my previous life, at this time, I only had Damon in my heart and eyes. In a fit of rage, I slapped her in the face, then went to find Damon and made a big scene. Due to the excitement, my heart didn't feel well, and I went to the hospital. My mother rushed to the hospital overnight and scolded Damon. Damon was very submissive in front of my mother. Afterwards, my mother comforted me, saying that it was normal for young people to quarrel and that it was okay. Later, when Shirley had an abortion in a small, unlicensed clinic, she had a massive hemorrhage, and both she and the baby died. With such a thing happening, Damon should have faced school punishment. However, my mother spent money on public relations and gave Shirley's family a large sum of money as compensation. She managed to suppress the matter. After calming down a bit, I smiled slightly and looked at Shirley, saying, "Congratulations. Are you going to give birth to this child?" Of course, Shirley raised the corners of her eyes, and her look of pride was obvious. "Gia, you won't blame me, will you?" Shirley came closer to me and said in a pretentious way, "For snatching your rich boyfriend, alas, I had no choice. Damon said that you were old-fashioned and boring. You should study hard and review. I heard Damon say that you're preparing for the postgraduate entrance examination. It's right to prepare early. I'm going out on a date today. Damon is going to take me to a Michelin-starred restaurant for a big meal." I nodded and said with a carefree smile, "Then you'd better hurry up." After Shirley left, I was the only one left in the dormitory. I immediately called my mother. Having lived 2 lives, when I heard my mother's voice again, I couldn't help but want to cry. "Gia, what's the matter?" My mother heard that my voice wasn't right and quickly asked me. She also said that while studying hard at school was important, I also needed to pay attention to rest. "Mom, I'm okay. I just want to say that our family can stop sponsoring Damon. After all, he's already in college, I said with a smile. When Damon was in college, my mother once said that since we were neither relatives nor friends, it would be okay to sponsor him until he graduated from college. But in my previous life, I was blind and fell in love with Damon at first sight. I made a fuss several times and insisted that my mother give Damon the same treatment as mine. I also said that Damon was good at studying and could take the postgraduate entrance examination in the future. After graduation, he could also help my father manage the company. In my previous life, indeed, everything went according to my life plan. Damon studied, took the postgraduate entrance examination, and entered our family's company. Everyone knew that he was the chosen son-in-law of the G family. My parents only had me as their only daughter, and everything seemed to happen naturally. However, what I didn't know was that my sincere love had actually invited a wolf into the house. My mother didn't ask me if I had quarreled with Damon. Instead, she told me that she didn't think Damon was a good match for me. Moreover, she had asked someone to check our Chinese zodiac compatibility long ago, and we weren't suitable for each other. Mom, I know. Let's stop his credit card today, I said obediently. After hanging up my mother's phone call, I was thinking that if my mother was quick enough, would Damon be unable to pay the bill at the Michelin restaurant tonight? Of course, at this time, I didn't know that in order to create the image of a rich young master in front of Shirley, Damon took her to a Michelin 3-star restaurant and reserved a super expensive private room. When it was time to pay the bill, he found that his credit card had been stopped. So he quickly called my mother. Damon, I sent you a message this afternoon. You're already a junior and will soon graduate. The Gia family won't sponsor you anymore, my mother said and hung up the phone directly. However, Damon ignored this message from my mother, or rather, he subconsciously blocked my mother's message. Having no choice, he called me. After I answered the phone, before I could say anything, I was faced with Damon's accusations. Gia, is it interesting for your family to do this? Your mother said to stop my card and then she just stopped it. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old kid who's easy to manipulate? Just because you have some money, you can do whatever you want and insult my personality? I sneered in my heart. In my previous life, when I was with Damon, I was always taking care of his extremely fragile self-esteem. He often gaslighted me, saying that I was a princess, being pretentious and relying on my wealth, without knowing the hardships of ordinary people. I lowered my stance, carefully flattered him, and tried to please him little by little. I was gaslighted by him until finally, I became a so-called mental patient, and everyone believed it. In this life, I just smiled. Damon, my family planned to stop sponsoring you when you went to college. After all, our family isn't a poverty alleviation office. But my father thought of the comradeship with your father back then and decided to sponsor you for another 2 years. Look, you're already a junior. You'll graduate in another year, so it's time for you to work part-time and support yourself while studying. Relying on relatives and friends isn't a long-term solution. I smiled and said, my family won't use money to insult your personality. The dormitory is about to turn off the lights. With that, I hung up the phone directly. However, soon Damon called again, angrily saying, Gia, you did it on purpose. Can't you bear to see me doing well? Isn't it just using some money from your family? Do you have to manipulate people like this? What's wrong? Just because I used your family's money, I have to be your living son-in-law, otherwise your family will stop my card. Gia, who do you think you are? Disgusting. I remained unmoved in my heart and smiled gently. Damon, you really overestimate yourself. Originally, when we lived under the same roof, saying a few intimate words was just the thoughtlessness of our youth. Did you take it seriously? Who wants to manipulate someone like you? Oh, right, your father was so lovesick that he was scammed. What's wrong? Are you also blinded by love? Don't bother me if there's nothing important. With that, I hung up the phone and blocked his number. As for how he settled the bill at the restaurant, that was another matter. Since it was the weekend, Shirley didn't come back on Saturday. It wasn't until Sunday night that she came back. She also brought gifts for our other 2 roommates and excitedly showed off to them how rich her boyfriend was. He has a small duplex near the school. Let me tell you guys, you're lucky. I'm not going to live in the dormitory anymore. I'm moving out. Shirley twirled around in the dormitory, looking very proud. The dormitory is so small, and 4 people have to live in it. It's too crowded. I'm moving out and have more space. In front of Shirley, Damon had always been maintaining the image of a rich young master. He was tall and handsome, with an elegant appearance. He drove my Porsche in and out of the campus, attracting the attention of girls frequently. I had never exposed him. In fact, I deliberately helped him cover it up. Now, I definitely wouldn't let him live in my house anymore. As for the car, I had already made 2 phone calls yesterday, asking Damon to return it. He answered the first call, but when I made the second call, he blocked me. It didn't matter. I'd call the police. The police attach great importance to luxury cars. Presumably, I'll get a reply tomorrow. The efficiency of the police was much higher than I expected. At a little after 7 o'clock in the evening, the police called me, saying that the car had been found. However, it had been mortgaged to the Michelin restaurant and asked me to go and deal with it. Without saying a word, I changed my clothes and got ready to go out. Gia, you're still going out at this time? Are you going on a date with your boyfriend? Shirley asked deliberately. Yes, I said with a smile. I'll bring you milk tea when I come back later. I took a taxi and rushed to the restaurant. The police had already arrived. I handed the relevant materials that I had prepared yesterday to the police, including the car purchase invoice, the contract, the vehicle registration certificate, etc. The police asked me, "Did you lend your car to a boy named Damon?" I nodded obediently and told the police that Damon's father and my father were comrades in arms originally. Some time ago, he came to me to borrow my car, and I lent it to him. However, he never returned it. After borrowing it, a few days ago, he even blocked me. I had no choice but to call the police to deal with it. I had already explained the above situation to the police when I reported the case and also provided Damon's contact information, etc. So the police contacted Damon and asked him to come over. At first, he didn't want to come. Later, when he heard the police say that if he didn't come, this matter would be treated as his stealing the vehicle, he finally showed up late, around 9 o'clock in the evening, after being urged repeatedly by the police. When he saw me, he snapped at me, "Gia, what on earth do you want? I just used your car for a while." Even the police couldn't stand his attitude and gave him a good lecture. During the mediation, Damon just said one thing: he was a student and had no money. His family had stopped his credit card. He would settle the bill with the restaurant when he got the money next month. And he actually proposed that if I wanted to drive the car away, I should settle the restaurant's bill first. Of course, I didn't agree. I told him that his behavior was illegal. Borrowing my car and not returning it, and even privately mortgaging it to the restaurant, involved illegally occupying other people's property. Now either he returned the car to me or I would hire a lawyer and go through the lawsuit process. The police also advised him to pay the restaurant's money first and return the car to me. Since it had already come to the point of calling the police, it wouldn't be a big deal to tell his parents at home. Damon started making phone calls, calling my parents respectively. My mother didn't answer his call, and my father answered it, but when he heard that Damon wanted money, he hung up directly. In front of me, Damon cursed angrily, "Just because you have money, you think you're so great. Without a son, you'll have no descendants." It was really offensive. Then he started borrowing money from his classmate Atesh. Finally, he borrowed some but was still short of a bit. He wrote an IOU to the restaurant, saying that he would pay it back in a few days. With the police's mediation, the restaurant agreed. I drove the car to the small duplex apartment in Hanghuafu that Shirley had coveted for a long time, changed the access code, and called the property security guards at the same time, telling them that Damon was not the owner and asking them to be careful and not let him casually enter. It's my house, and of course, I won't allow others to live in it. By the time I finished handling many things and returned to the dormitory, it was almost 10 o'clock. Shirley, with red eyes, stopped me. "Gia, what do you mean you're pestering someone else's boyfriend like this? You're a mistress. Don't you have any shame?" I burst out laughing and said, "Shirley, even if we talk about who came first, you're the one who's the mistress. Also, I think you've misunderstood something." I smiled happily and said, "The Damon you regard as a treasure is just the child of my father's comrade in arms. We know each other. When he was in high school, he once lived in my house for a while. That's all. Don't worry. There's no affair between him and me. I won't interfere with your plan to marry into a wealthy family." I said it loudly, firmly, and forcefully. Shirley seemed to believe it and asked me, "Really?" "Of course," I said. "If you don't believe me, I can post a statement on the school bulletin board." As for you, I shrugged and said, "You're pregnant. Our dormitory is small. Usually, we play around. If you accidentally bump into something, it'll be a problem. You'd better move out earlier. Knowing that you're pregnant, I didn't even dare to bring you milk tea. Otherwise, if you have something wrong with your health because of it, I can't bear the responsibility." Hearing that Shirley was pregnant, my other 2 roommates were shocked. In college, marriage and dating are indeed not prohibited, but we're only sophomores. On the one hand, we're not economically independent, and on the other hand, we still need to study. No one would be so silly as to have a baby at this time. It's just Shirley who's so thoughtless that she actually tried to use the baby to control a man, and she's so blind that she regards a worthless scumbag as a rich and handsome guy. In this life, I'll let them be together and see how far their so-called love can go and whether it can last forever. Shirley stared at the bag in my hand, the limited edition AES bag that my aunt gave me on my 18th birthday. She had been to my small duplex apartment and seen it before. So she grabbed me again quite forcefully. Even my arm hurt a bit from her grip. Gia, I almost believed you. Don't be so pretentious. You got the benefits and still tried to act innocent. You've never met Damon. How could he give you the bag? She pointed at the bag in my hand and said, you just can't stand seeing me happy and deliberately keep pestering him. He told me that you've been pestering him all the time, taking advantage of the fact that your father and his father are comrades in arms. Regarding his accusation, I smiled and said, you doubt everything I say. Why don't you call Damon and ask him? Put it on speakerphone and it's better to use video. Let's make it clear so that you won't suspect that I'm interfering in your relationship and being a mistress. I can't bear this accusation. I laughed. My other two roommates, while sipping milk tea, nodded repeatedly. They were just onlookers enjoying the gossip. Shirley was stunned for a moment. I knew that when I went out just now, she was so worried that she had called Damon. I don't know what was on Damon's mind. He actually told her that I was pestering him and that he was just being polite to me out of consideration for the friendship between our parents. He might just be driven by vanity, showing off. My two roommates also chimed in, urging Shirley to quickly make a video call to Damon and ask clearly. Under our urging, Shirley made a video call to Damon. Shirley, it's so late. Why aren't you sleeping? What are you making a fuss about on the phone? Damon was clearly impatient. If it were me, I'd also be irritable after borrowing money here and there and still couldn't settle the bill for a meal at a Michelin-starred restaurant. This directly shattered the persona of a wealthy young master that he had painstakingly built up. How could he not be annoyed? Unfortunately, Shirley had no idea about it. Her tone became coquettish, and she even seemed to be sobbing a little. Brother Damon, I saw Gia carrying a bag, the limited edition Aries that you said you put in the display window and that you said you would give to me. Oh, what a pitiful tone, I thought to myself. On the other end of the phone, Damon said impatiently, Shirley, it's just a bag. She kept asking for it. Out of consideration for the friendship between our parents, I just gave it to her casually. I didn't wait for him to finish and said loudly, Damon, we need to make it clear. When did you give me the limited edition Air MES bag? Probably Damon didn't expect that Shirley would make this video call with the speakerphone on. Immediately, he was stunned. I continued, Damon, quickly explain it clearly to your girlfriend. Don't bother me otherwise. I'll see you for defamation. Being disturbed by me like this, Damon seemed to get angry all of a sudden and said angrily, Shirley, what are you making a fuss about? It's just a lousy bag. I'll buy you one tomorrow. Then he hung up the phone. However, what he said was still unclear. Shirley was so angry that her face turned pale. She seemed to have been greatly wronged. She climbed onto the bed and sobbed for most of the night. The next afternoon, Damon dragged me to the back of the small woods on campus and asked me coldly, Gia, what do you want? He put one hand on the big tree behind me in a wall slam pose. Probably he thought he was so handsome and cool. I walked around the tree to keep a distance from him and just looked at him. Gia, I'll forgive you for what happened yesterday, thinking that you were just being a bit childish. Transfer $50,000 to me. Also, you go and explain to your parents yourself about what you said to them. If I don't see the money next month, it's over between us. Do you understand? As he said that, he even reached out to pinch my chin. I slapped his hand away hard. Looking at the payment code on his phone, I said sarcastically, are you a beggar asking for money? As soon as you stretch out your hand, can't you have any ambition? Damon's face turned red with anger. Probably because of anger and shame, which made his face look distorted and ferocious, he said, how dare you humiliate me? You asked for it by coming to me. I said loudly, the small woods on campus are just a place where people can't be easily seen. But one side is a road, and classmates were coming and going. Immediately, Damon couldn't save face. He was extremely self-abased yet also very sensitive. He couldn't bear others saying that he was poor. He pushed me hard, which made me stagger back a step. He squeezed out a few words through his teeth, can't you keep your voice down? What are you making a fuss about? If you're afraid of me making a fuss, why did you come to me? I deliberately said, you want to buy a bag for your girlfriend, but you come to me for money. Am I your father or your mother? You have no money and no ability. Why are you acting like a big shot? Buy a canvas bag instead. I said loudly. There were many onlookers on campus. Quite a few people had already stopped by the roadside to watch. Gia, what are you making a fuss about? Aren't you ashamed? Damon scolded me angrily. I'm not ashamed at all, I said loudly. People who pretend to be rich when they have no money are the ones who should be ashamed. With that, I turned around and walked away. Behind me, Damon's voice came through gritted teeth. Gia, don't you dare regret it. Of course I wouldn't regret it, I said. I deliberately drove the Porsche to school and even flaunted it all the way to a small parking lot near the dormitory. Shirley couldn't sit still again. She came to me with a sad face, ready to have a fight. Gia, you don't keep your word. What's the point of you pestering brother Damon like this? As she said that, she even shouted loudly, classmates, please judge. I'm in a relationship with Damon, but Gia keeps pestering him relentlessly. She's a mistress. The dormitory door was open, and neighbors couldn't help poking their heads out, eager to get the first-hand gossip. Seeing that there were enough people, I smiled and said, Shirley, what on earth do you want to do? Which years saw me pestering Damon? I can't avoid him fast enough. You're driving his car and still say that? Shirley pointed her finger directly at my face, and her tone became even more aggressive. I sneered, slapped her hand away, and then took out the vehicle registration certificate from my bag and threw it to her, saying, take a good look. Whose car is this? Anyone with a little common sense knows that the vehicle registration certificate must have the owner's name on it. Impossible. This car clearly belongs to Damon, Shirley snapped angrily. Gia, you're forging this. I was amused by her and said, Shirley, have you watched too many TV dramas and have to imagine an imaginary enemy? You can call Damon and ask him whose car this really is. Don't talk nonsense in the future. What do you mean by 3 or not 3? Not everyone is like you, with nothing but love affairs on their minds. Then I added loudly, all classmates, please bear witness. Although I know Damon, I have absolutely nothing to do with him. Having learned from the last experience, Shirley went outside to make a phone call. When she came back, she sobbed for a long time. In the past, I had always kept a low profile and didn't really care much about bags, clothes, or jewelry. Now, I deliberately went wild online, picking this and that, and even discussed with my other 2 roommates which bag I should buy, Chanel or LV. Shirley couldn't sit still and complained that we were disturbing her. Oh, Shirley, didn't your boyfriend say that he has a house near the school, a duplex apartment, and that he would move out? Why don't you move out as soon as possible? How can 4 people in a dormitory not make noise? My 2 roommates chimed in with each other. After we said that, Shirley just sat aside and wept silently, saying that we had bullied her. 2 days later, the Chanel bag I bought through a purchasing agent arrived. Shirley walked over, pinched my bag with her long fingernails, and said in a sarcastic tone, is it a high imitation? I uncourteously put the shopping receipt in front of her and said, even if it's a high imitation, I bought it with real money. If you damage it, I'll ask you to compensate me. Gia, where did you get the money to buy the bag? Shirley asked me. My boyfriend is rich, I said with a smile. Unlike you, you're already pregnant but still squeezing into this small dormitory with us. Your boyfriend is not only reluctant to buy you a bag but also reluctant to buy you better meals. Shirley, is your boyfriend reliable? People always get hurt when there's a comparison. Shirley had originally hoped to hook up with Damon, marry into a wealthy family overnight, and show off and compete with others. She wanted to slap everyone in the face hard. Now, suddenly being slapped hard in the face by me, she was very unhappy in her heart and started to make a fuss with Damon. During these days, I bought 3 bags, 2 Chanel ones and 1 LV. I also bought 2 gold bracelets, a pair of jade earrings, and a Rolex watch. Shirley was very unbalanced in her heart and cried to Damon every day. What could Damon do? He could only coax her. In his mind, Shirley was his true love. Love with no money, what could he do? He started to find ways everywhere to get money, applying for credit cards, taking out online loans, and so on. He took Shirley to eat, drink, and have fun, trying hard to build his image as a rich, handsome guy. Originally, he had pawned off some luxury goods that he bought with my family's money, one after another. Finally, he bought a bag for Shirley, which allowed Shirley to show off in the dormitory for several days. I deliberately said to Shirley, Shirley, luxury goods look good only when they come in sets. You only have an LV bag, and it's just an entry-level one. It's a bit tacky. Your boyfriend is the young master of the Shashing Consortium. Won't he be stingy and not buy you clothes? Shirley's face didn't look good. The Shashing Consortium is my family's company, I said. When I first heard from Shirley that Damon was the young master of the Shashing Consortium, I was shocked. So I started to help him build up his persona as the young master of the Hosean Consortium. He surely wouldn't be unable to afford such a small amount of money. So I kept fueling the fire for Shirley. As a result, Shirley began to constantly ask Damon for this and that, making a big fuss. Besides, she had severe morning sickness, vomiting whatever she ate, and often occupied the bathroom to vomit. She didn't even clean up after vomiting, and of course, we all had complaints. So we unanimously demanded that she move out. Moreover, we also reported it to the dormitory supervisor, Auntie. The dormitory supervisor, knowing that she was pregnant, was worried that something might happen to her in the dormitory and that she would lose her job because of it. So she was very angry and ordered her to move out within 3 days. Otherwise, she would report it to the school leaders. Shirley naturally didn't want to squeeze into the dormitory with us. She had been longing for my duplex apartment for a long time, so she went to Damon again, crying and making a scene. Damon came to me and said that he wanted to borrow my duplex apartment for a while. I flatly refused. He had no choice but to rent a house in Hiang Phu. The rent was very high. Just in 3 months, the credit cards and online loans were overdue. Both the banks and online loan platforms started to collect debts. The people from whom he borrowed money also came to ask him for repayment. The rent was due, and the landlord came to ask for the renewal fee and had an argument with Shirley. Shirley was so angry that she cursed the landlord loudly. "My husband is the young master of the Shashing Consortium. Do you think he will owe you just a few months' rent?" Coincidentally, the landlord happened to know me and was immediately angered and amused at the same time. She told Shirley that the boss of the Shashing group only had one beloved daughter, and there was no so-called young master. Instantly, Shirley's defense was broken. Not caring that she was pregnant with a big belly, she rushed to the school and, regardless of whether Damon was in class or not, rushed into the classroom and made a big scene. Damon's face was scratched, and the textbooks on his desk were thrown everywhere. Of course, Shirley didn't get any good either. He grabbed her hair and slapped her several times. The old professor couldn't stand it and ordered people to pull them apart. He also arranged for someone to send Shirley to the hospital. I didn't know about this until the afternoon. I ate with my 2 roommates, trying to figure out the whole story. My roommate also asked me, "Your father and Damon's father are comrades in arms. Is he really the young master of the Shashing group?" "Of course not," I said with a smile while biting on a straw. "He has nothing to do with the Shashing group at all." At dusk, I had dinner in the school cafeteria and walked towards the school dormitory building while playing with my mobile phone. Suddenly, someone emerged from under the shade of a tree, hugged me tightly, and was about to kiss me. I was so frightened that I screamed loudly and hit his head hard with my mobile phone. "Gia, it's me." "Don't make a fuss," Damon said affectionately to me under the dim street light. "Gia, I've missed you so much." I burst out laughing and said, "Damon, your girlfriend's belly is already so big. You say you miss me. Please don't miss me. You don't deserve to miss me." After saying that, I was about to leave. Damon was very anxious and stopped me, shouting, "Gia, listen to me. I was just temporarily bewitched by her. I've thought it through now. The person I love the most is you. Well, give me some money. I'll take her to have an abortion, then I'll break up with her, and we'll be together properly." I thought to myself, in my previous life, he seemed to have said similar words, too. After Shirley's child died from a miscarriage in my previous life, I don't know what had gotten into me. Even though I knew clearly that Damon was undeniably responsible for Shirley's death, even though my mother had advised me that a man who could cheat on his girlfriend with other women during a relationship was definitely not a good match, I just didn't listen and didn't believe it. I was lost in the romantic fantasies I created by myself and ended up dying a tragic death in the end. In this life, it sounded like a huge joke to me. "Damon, are you worthy of talking about love?" A hint of embarrassment flashed across Damon's face, but he was busy putting on a smile and said to me, "Gia, I was wrong. You can hit me." After saying that, he actually reached out to grab my hand and put it on his face. I quickly shook off his hand and wiped my hand vigorously, looking disgusted. "Damon, don't you know how dirty you are? Don't pull and tug at me. I feel sick just looking at you," I said. After that, I walked towards the dormitory. He stopped me again with a gloomy look on his face and growled, "Gia, stop making a fuss. I just slept with another woman. How long are you going to keep making a fuss? I've already apologized to you humbly. What else do you want? Do you want me to kneel down and beg you? If you hadn't pretended to be a saint and refused to let me touch you, would I have gone for someone else?" Hearing these words, I immediately got angry and snapped, "Damon, don't you see what kind of person you are? You're just a stray dog. My family took you in just because we pitied you. How dare you dream of having me? If you don't have a mirror at home, there's always urine. Go take a look at yourself in it." After scolding him, I walked directly towards the girls' dormitory. In the evening, Shirley called me. Gia, are you the little princess of the Shashing Consortium? She asked. My father is the founder and chairman of the Shashing Consortium. I'm his daughter, not some little princess, I said calmly. Why didn't you tell me that? He is nothing. His family has no money but only debts. What should I do? Shirley started crying and was now crying her eyes out on the phone. Have an abortion, come back to study hard, wait until you graduate from university, find a good job, and live a good life, I said. For her, this was the best option. Our university is a famous one in China. With a solid diploma after graduation, it has an advantage in finding jobs. On the phone, I also reminded her to have an abortion in a regular hospital. After all, she died from an abortion in her previous life. I was a bit worried, so I called Uncle Zhuang, our family driver, and asked him to find some people to keep an eye on Shirley. More than a week later, I was in class when Uncle Wang called me. Miss, something bad happened, he said. I quickly transferred some money to Uncle Wang and asked him to make sure to save Shirley's life. A woman had a massive hemorrhage during an abortion. I asked Xiao and the others to help and send her to a big hospital. If she died, wouldn't it be too easy on that scumbag Damon? Shirley's life was saved, but the doctor said that when she had the miscarriage, the child was already more than 5 months old, almost 6 months. It was a small, unlicensed clinic. The operation was not clean. Besides the massive hemorrhage, she also got an infection. Even if she recovered, she wouldn't be able to have children in the future. After Shirley had the miscarriage, Damon started to use all kinds of means to pursue me. He made my head hurt so much that I had no choice but to call the police. The police criticized and educated him. After coming out of the police station, he stopped me and said, Gia, we are made for each other. This time, I definitely won't let you down. Don't worry. I sensitively caught the keywords in his words. Although I was suspicious in my heart, I didn't ask but just mocked him. Damon, what do you use to pursue me, a company, real estate, or your dirty carrot? What do you have except a whole lot of debts outside? If you keep bothering me, I'll see you for picking quarrels and provoking troubles and send you to prison. After saying that, I got into the car and left directly. For a week, Damon didn't come to me. I was a bit surprised. Theoretically speaking, he would never give up so easily. He was extremely vain. Otherwise, he wouldn't have pretended to be with me to have a relationship. For him, I was the best shortcut. One day at midnight, Uncle Wang suddenly called me. Miss, something's happened. It's a big deal, he said. Shirley stabbed Damon more than 10 times, he continued. I was shocked and quickly asked, is he dead? Damon didn't die, but that woman is dead. According to Uncle Wang, Damon killed her instead. Damon had only minor injuries on other parts of his body, but most of his penis was cut off. I don't know how Shirley managed to do that. Shirley was killed with just one stab. In this life, she didn't die from the abortion but was killed by Damon with his own hands. The police classified this case as a mutual fight. Damon was sentenced to 8 years in prison for involuntary manslaughter. I agreed to it. He kept making a fuss in prison, insisting on seeing me through that layer of glass, holding the receiver. I looked at Damon in his prison uniform and smiled. I was quite satisfied with this outcome. Why did you save her? He asked me. That stupid woman should have died in that clinic. That was her fate. If she had died, we could have lived happily together, and you would have forgiven me. Gia, you love me, right? I tapped on the receiver with my hand and sneered. Damon, wake up. Love you? Are you dreaming? I came to see you just to see how miserable you are now. Why did I save Shirley? Because I knew that as long as she was alive, you would be in a terrible situation. Isn't she your love? Didn't you say that she wouldn't die without you? So I wouldn't let her die on the abortion operating table. With that, I put down the receiver. I saw the shock, horror, and anger that couldn't be concealed in Damon's eyes. Damon had a really hard time in prison. He had no money, no power, and was a disabled person. Everyone looked down on him and wanted to beat him up. 2 years later, on the day of my college graduation ceremony, Uncle Wang called and told me that Damon was dead. Uncle Wang said that he really couldn't bear the bullying from the inmates in prison. While the prison guards weren't paying attention, he bumped his head against the wall and died on the spot. At the moment when I heard that Damon was dead, I suddenly felt completely relaxed. A smile spread across my face. In this life, I was finally free from his shadow.